Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel, The Primordial Law. Volume 6, Battle for the True Inheritance. Chapter 50, 591, The Century-Old Tragedy. 50th of Volume 6. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. Thank you for your assistance earlier. Honghu is incredibly strange, only thunder and lightning can restrain him. My pure light flame cultivation was actually countered by him. Nangong, wearing a white mask, gazed thoughtfully at the 4 battle corpse puppets standing beside Li Wei. Li Wei remained captivated by her mystical movements and extraordinary staff techniques. In just a few dozen exchanges, she had slain the Imperial Pattern Bone Marquis, leaving the Marquis no chance to escape. Beside them, Lu Yi coughed lightly. Li Wei snapped out of his reverie. Let's get out of here first. After distancing themselves from the battlefield and evading pursuit, the 3 of them stopped by a wide riverbank. Li Wei asked Nangong for news of Tang Wanzhou and Cheng Yujian. We split up to break through the encirclement. Most of the powerful pursuers went after the Holy Commander, so her chances of survival are slim. Cheng Yujian should have an easier time escaping, he carries a deadly trump card, and fewer enemies are after him. Nangong stood by the riverbank, her radiant aura subdued. She removed her mask, revealing a peerless beauty rarely seen in the world. Her demeanor lacked Tang Wanzhou's heroic spirit and Qing Zijian's aloofness, exuding instead a gentle, refined grace. Neither Li Wei nor Lu Yi were in any mood to appreciate the scenery. After asking Nangong about Tang Wanzhou's escape route, Li Wei prepared to leave. The valiant guard's martial mystic path cultivation is unparalleled. Please take care of Lu Yi. Li Wei had no intention of taking Nangong with him to search for Tang Wanzhou, even though Nangong's cultivation was formidable. Foolish. Nangong retorted, you, Li Wei, a man of such intelligence, how could you make such a reckless decision? If the Holy Commander has already escaped, you'll never catch up now. Instead, you might run into enemies retreating after their failed pursuit. And if the Holy Commander hasn't escaped, she's likely already dead. Either way, you're walking into danger. Your 4 battle corpse puppets are powerful, but how much spiritual chi remains in their immortal golden cores? You're already exhausting this life-saving trump card so soon after entering the Void Ruins Ancient Kingdom. Chu Yudian sees the myriad inscriptions Yin Yang Gong from the Imperial Pattern Bone Marquis. Bai Chuan's 8 formation flags likely won't hold him back. Once Chu Yudian kills Bai Chuan and frees his hands, do you think you'll have any chance of escape if you cross paths with him? Nangong Yu sighed, her heart heavy with complex emotions. I was wrong. Li Wei and Lu Yi exchanged puzzled glances, unsure of her meaning. I shouldn't have agreed to Bai Chuan's plan to kill Chu Yudian, Nangong said, her voice filled with remorse and self-blame. If I had stood firmly with the Holy Commander, the outcome might have been very different. Li Wei asked, does this have something to do with the secrets of the Void Ruins Ancient Kingdom? Both outside Fanyi Valley and just now, Li Wei had twice decisively intervened to help her. Outside Fanyi Valley, he had helped all the Shaoyang Guard escape. Just now, he had acted solely to protect her. Both times, he had risked considerable danger. Through Li Wei's actions, Nangong had genuinely felt the camaraderie of shared hardship, and her inner defenses had begun to crumble. She nodded slightly. Do you remember the footprint you found when we first entered the Void Ruins Ancient Kingdom? My desire to kill Chu Yudian, destroy the Tai Yin sect, and eliminate the Diak spirit was all to conceal the secret behind that footprint. I can't tell you any more than that. Li Wei, even though had a guess, but sensing her reluctance, didn't press further. Everyone had their secrets. He then bid farewell to the 2. You're still going? Nangong asked, her eyes filled with disbelief. Li Wei replied, Tang Wanzhou and I have been comrades through countless trials and tribulations. Our bond transcends mere distance, whether it's thousands or tens of thousands of miles of dangerous journey. Even if it were 100,000 or 1,000,000 miles, I would still go. Lu Yi's eyes shone with fervent admiration, pleased that his initial judgment had been correct. He remained silent, his approval and emotions conveyed wordlessly. By the way, Li Wei added, the Deputy Valiant Guard has gone to the Netherworld domain of the Heavenly Capital River. She said she only trusts you, me, and the Holy Commander's whistles. He shared this information, hoping Nangong would go to her aid. Nangong frowned slightly. Li Wei, can we speak privately? Li Wei glanced at Lu Yi beside him, puzzled. I'll go keep watch, Lu Yi said, darting away. Nangong released her spiritual chi, enveloping them both, and said gravely, I must apologize to you again. Li Wei replied, is it because you used me and Qing Zijian to leave the valley, testing whether the enemy had already arrived? Nangong hadn't expected Li Wei to see through her intentions so clearly. Knowing all this, why did you help me earlier? First, I had already left the valley long before you arrived, so your actions had nothing to do with me. Second, if I was truly manipulated and schemed against, that's my own fault for being foolish. Third, at least you're not a spy for the Tai Yin sect, Li Wei replied. Consider me owing you 2 favors, Nangong said, I'll repay them someday. Li Wei didn't take this promise too seriously. I can understand you scheming against me, we had no prior relationship. But why did you scheme against Qing Zijin? She trusted you so completely. Nangong hesitated, sighing softly before whispering, I can't explain it. When I made that decision, I was torn. I tried to convince myself I was helping her, that leaving Fanyi Valley meant escaping danger. But there was another voice in my heart. What voice? Li Wei asked when she remained silent for too long. I suspected her and wanted to test her, Nangong admitted. Li Wei was utterly astonished. He never expected Nangong to give such a reason. Nangong's eyes were filled with anguish. I must tell you up front, I have no concrete evidence, but I'm not trying to justify my despicable methods. You've been close to her recently. You must know something about her background, right? I suppose so, Li Wei replied. Nangong continued, logically, as the sole survivor of the immortal Haze Shanja sect, she should bear the shadow of that mysterious curse. But as a curse master myself, I've detected no such shadow on her. I wanted to help her dispel the curse, so I consulted a highly respected senior from my clan within the Sentinel Spirit Army, seeking information about the immortal Haze Shanja sect's annihilation a century ago. Instead, I uncovered a horrifying truth. Nangong said, legend has it that the Sentinel Spirit Army investigated the cursed calamity, but the truth was never made public. Only the Deputy Sentinel Lord and the Sentinel Lord knew what truly happened. If it were merely a simple cursed calamity, why keep it secret? Nangong continued, the immortal Haze Shanja sect's leader was the Sentinel Lord of the Cave Void Dongshu camp, and the sect itself was a glorious ancient sect at its peak. After investigating such a brutal and terrifying massacre, revealing the truth to the public would have been the most logical course of action. Li Wei narrowed his eyes, his voice trembling with emotion. There's more to this story. Every historical event glossed over carries a truth too terrible to be revealed to the world. The immortal Haze Shanja sect, from top to bottom, was actually slaughtered by a joint force of the Sentinel Spirit Army and the Demon Kingdom Forbidden Army, wiped out in a single night without a single survivor. Afterward, their bodies were dried into corpses in the heavenly fire world, creating the illusion of a cursed calamity. The destruction of the Sentinel Lord's sect demanded a satisfactory explanation for the world, otherwise, who would ever join the Sentinel Spirit Army again? The corpses behind blazing Absolute Mountain served as that answer. Nangong's voice dropped to a somber tone, as if recounting a nightmarish tale. By the riverbank, a cold wind rustled through the air. Li Wei felt a chill run down his spine, his scalp tingling with numbness. He couldn't accept it. Why? Why would they do this? Nangong replied, according to my clan's elder, the immortal Haze sect leader had been cultivating an ancient, forbidden curse technique, breeding vast numbers of cursed monsters called Great Void Worms within blazing Absolute Mountain. But the sect leader's cultivation went awry. He was overtaken by the cursed monsters and transformed into a monster himself. Even more terrifying was that all the Great Void Worms bred on blazing Absolute Mountain escaped and infested the bodies of many immortal Haze sect disciples. To avoid alarming the Great Void Worms and preventing their spread throughout the Crimson Bright Realm, and subsequently to other living realms, the Sentinel Spirit Army and Demon Kingdom Forbidden Army had no choice but to resort to indiscriminate methods. Wielding heavenly fire talismans, they launched a night-long purge, incinerating souls and spirits to eradicate the worms completely. Better to kill the innocent than let a single worm escape. Li Wei asked gravely, was there truly no way to take more time for proper identification? Nangong replied, our clan elder said they were racing against time. The Great Void Worms reproduce at an astonishing rate. Beyond the immortal Haze sect, over the next 3 years, due to overlooked worms, at least 10 million more lives were lost across the Crimson Bright Realm. A colossal bloodbath concealed from history. Every participant has kept silent, unwilling, or too afraid, to reopen wounds a century old. Countless innocents were undoubtedly slaughtered, and countless lives could have been spared. Yet no one will admit their mistakes, nor dare to recall the truth. At most, they might awaken in the dead of night, drenched in tears from nightmares. Li Wei said bitterly, you're worried that Qing Zijin might be turned against us by the Tai Yin sect if she learns the truth. What about her father? How did he survive, and why did he later become an immortal corpse? Nangong replied, rumor has it that everything is connected to her mother. Only those involved know the full story. All I know is that her mother was a sentinel spirit in the cave void camp and is still alive. What else have you discovered? Knowing this only made Li Wei feel more sympathy for Qing Zijin, not suspicion. Nangong continued, first, don't you find her excessively detached? She can directly control the 13 immortal corpses of the Qing clan. What descendant would show such disrespect? You've probably been to Green Robe Garden, where she lives alone. When I saw her arrange the 13 immortal corpses behind the ancestral tablets, I felt a chilling dread creep into my heart. Can you imagine her living alone in that garden? I believe her demeanor suggests she already knows the truth. Second, why did Tu Miango disappear right before our departure? It's highly likely a second traitor tipped him off. Third, have you noticed that no matter how dangerous the situation, she remains remarkably calm and handles it with ease? Would you be so composed in the face of danger? One can only face danger with such composure if they possess overwhelming strength and don't perceive it as a threat. Furthermore, no one has ever seen envoy Luo Yinji, not even today. Chu Yutian and all the other Tai Yin envoys appeared, so why would she be the exception? She must have entered the Void Ruins ancient kingdom. Li Wei recalled his interactions with Qing Zijin and shook his head gently. Impossible. She doesn't seem like someone with such deep schemes. I've always believed that a spy seeking to remain hidden would choose a disguise that makes them the least likely suspect. Nangong continued, of course, this is all just my intuition. I have no evidence, and I even feel guilty for such malicious speculation. I won't be going to the Netherworld domain of the heavenly capital river. You should be careful too, there's no need to stand beneath a collapsing wall. That includes Zhao Tang and Shu Daoking. I'm avoiding contact with them for now. Just stay away if you can. That's all. If you find the Holy Commander, come find me in Chun City. Use the spirit whistle, I'll only recognize you too. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel, The Primordial Law. Volume 6, Battle for the True Inheritance. Chapter 51 592 The Demon Race Arrives. 51st of Volume 6. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. 4 days later, Li Wei, battered and bruised, halted at the bank of a river as vast as the sea, its opposite shore lost in the distance. He had reached the heavenly capital Tiandu River. The faint azure mist of the heavenly capital river Nether domain was visible. Standing there, closing his eyes, he could sense time itself twisting. The inner and outer realms were undergoing violent transformations. Wisps of mist, like silken threads from a time cocoon, enveloped the surrounding world. The river flowed clear and melodious, its waters singing. Even at the edge of the nether domain, life pulsed with vigor. The wetlands along the bank teemed with delicate, luminous aquatic plants that stretched dozens of meters into the riverbed, transforming the shallows into a dazzling, starlit expanse. Splash. Li Wei waded into the waist-deep water, cupping the bone-chilling river water and splashing it over his face. Instantly, his exhausted body and mind felt refreshed, his weary eyes regaining their brightness and his fighting spirit rekindled. Over the past 4 days, he had fought 6 or 7 major battles and traversed tens of thousands of miles. He had neither found Tang Wanzhou nor encountered any other Shaoyang guards. The good news was that the Taiyan sect and the fallen spirit marquises had neither captured nor killed Tang Wanzhou. There was also some bad news, though its veracity remained uncertain. Tang Wanzhou must have used some method to completely conceal her aura and hide while healing. That's why I can't sense her location. Li Wei removed layers of his tattered inner armor and blood robe, carefully collecting all the blood qi separately for later use. Covered in wounds, he washed away all traces of qi and fatigue in the water. Then, he donned the governor's robe and 3 sets of spiritual artifact battle armor he had seized, his gaze fixed upstream along the heavenly capital river. There lay the 800-li underworld domain, stretching along both banks of the river. The entire nether domain was a realm of ancient, towering trees and dense vegetation, with jagged peaks rising in layers. Enveloped in a pale blue nether spirit qi, it exuded an aura of mystery and profound depth. Yet it was eerily silent, even the slightest sound stood out starkly. After cloaking himself in invisibility, Li Wei slipped into the dense forest, the sentinel's whistle clutched in his hand. The image of Qing Zijin flashed through his mind as he pondered where she might be hiding. Nangong was likely a descendant of the Void Ruins ancient kingdom, burdened by the nation's past grievances and family vendettas. Her upbringing and education had subtly instilled in her a deep-seated suspicion and distrust of everyone. Li Wei didn't doubt her loyalty, but he couldn't risk the worst-case scenario. At the Immortal Haze sect's cave void camp, Li Wei had been the one to propose an alliance with Qing Zijin. Now, if he were to abandon his ally based on Nangong's uncertain speculation, leaving Qing Zijin to wait alone in the heavenly capital river nether domain, it would be a betrayal of his word. This small act would reveal a larger truth. A mind so easily swayed by doubt would inevitably waver in matters of greater consequence. Qing Zijin might indeed have ulterior motives, but Li Wei needed to verify this himself, to find his own answer. He couldn't break his promise based on mere suspicion. Reaching the summit of a mountain peak in the southern part of the heavenly capital river nether domain, Li Wei blew his sentinel's whistle. The whistle's tone wasn't particularly loud, it blended seamlessly with the wind. Only the sentinel spirit army and their enemies, the Taiyan sect, could recognize it as a whistle. Other cultivators would mistake it for a natural sound. Using a prearranged code with Qing Zijin, Li Wei varied the whistle's length and rhythm to transmit the meeting location and time. He then swiftly retreated from the summit, concealing himself 10 li away. Moments later, an inexplicable chill ran down Li Wei's spine. He heard no sound, and no figure appeared on the mountain peak. Yet he knew with absolute certainty that either the Taiyan sect or a fallen spirit marquis had arrived in the heavenly capital river nether domain and were silently approaching the whistle's source. The heavenly capital river nether domain was the closest major nether domain to the Fanyi Valley nether domain, making it perfectly natural for the fallen spirit marquises to pursue their quarry here. Li Wei cautiously retreated to the agreed-upon rendezvous point, still hiding 10 miles away. He released 7th Phoenix. An hour past the agreed-upon time, 7th Phoenix returned. No one came to the rendezvous. Leaning against a massive ancient tree, Li Wei sat cross-legged in meditation. Opening his eyes, he felt a contradictory mix of worry and relief. He worried that Qing Zijin might have already met with misfortune, preventing her from reaching the heavenly capital river nether domain. Yet he felt relieved because if Qing Zijin were truly acting as Nangong suspected, she would have undoubtedly arrived at the heavenly capital river nether domain by now. Hearing the sentinel's whistle, she would have certainly come to the rendezvous. First, I need to heal my injuries and replenish my spiritual qi and psychic power. Li Wei held a neonly psychic power star in each hand. The 10 springs within his body surged, channeling liquid qi from the divine gate to his wounds. 3 days later, deep within the dense forest, concealed by a hidden formation, Li Wei had fully recovered his vitality. He retrieved several cosmic pouches, cataloging the spoils from the recent brutal battles. Including Luo Pingdan, Li Wei had slain a total of 9 great powers of the immortal realm, 6 of whom were in the second realm. Such a devastating loss far surpassed that suffered by the Shaoyang division. It made him wonder if Chu Yutian would consider this another crushing defeat. Could he even deliver a satisfactory report to the fallen spirit powerhouses in the nether realm of the dead? Li Wei had amassed a vast collection of spiritual artifacts, including corpse cores, ghost cores, and bone cores. His greatest joy, however, came from acquiring a massive quantity of karmic fire, which he stored entirely within his scarlet gourd. Achieving the 4th layer of mastery in the sixfold samsara burning karma technique now seemed within reach. Of course, he hadn't escaped unscathed. The immortal golden cores and spiritual qi within his 4 battle corpse puppets were severely depleted. Once exhausted, their combat prowess would be drastically diminished. Li Wei resolved to conserve their use as much as possible. Without them, he would stand no chance against true disciple-level experts. I'll cultivate in the heavenly capital river nether domain for a while, and search for the nether soul divine essence while I'm there. He had already condensed 18 neonly psychic power stars, just 1 step away from the peak of the first realm. Obtaining the nether soul divine essence would allow him to nourish his spirit wisdom soul at an accelerated pace, condense it, and then break through to the second realm of a holy spiritual master. The task of searching for the essence was naturally entrusted to Big Phoenix, Second Phoenix, and Seventh Phoenix. Simultaneously, they were also tasked with gathering Millennium Essence herbs and precious herbs. A piercing cry echoed from the depths of the heavenly capital river nether domain. Soon, more commotion followed. Li Wei ceased refining karmic fire, his senses sharpening as he emerged from his concealment formation. Such intense demonic qi, he murmured. The 3 phoenix-winged moth emperors returned, tossing the 3 cosmic pouches filled with medicinal herbs hanging around their necks to Li Wei. They vied to report, troubles brewing by the river. A major battle is about to erupt. I heard someone shout about the nether soul divine essence. What exactly is that? I've never seen it before, how are we supposed to find it? Flames are engulfing the mountains, turning vast swaths of land to ash. Even the soil and rocks are being reduced to sand. After securing the 3 phoenix-winged moth emperors, Li Wei concealed himself and hurried toward the source of the surging demonic qi. Crossing hundreds of miles, he arrived at a region scorched into a black desert. Beneath the dark sand, he noticed countless hidden sparks of fire, causing him to gasp inwardly. This is the Ashen region. From afar, Li Wei could already see the blazing flames erupting from the Ember Spirit powerhouse, its aura surging with immense power. The creature resembled a black giant sculpted from ember, towering 15 meters tall. It wielded a massive, 4-sided ancient spear like a metal divine pillar, standing on the banks of the heavenly capital river. The surrounding land had been completely transformed into burning sand, engulfed in raging flames. 6 other demon cultivators stood alongside it. Among them was a young man in simple, elegant robes, his body shrouded in icy mist. He was none other than Bai Yeqing, grandson of the Western monster race's Flying Phoenix and son of Bai Luan. Compared to over a year ago, his spiritual qi had been completely renewed, reaching the immortal realm. Like Chong Yujian, he had likely refined the immortal herb and dragon soul source light. Facing the 7 great immortal realm experts of the demon race were Qingzhao and Huo Tianming of the Taiyan sect, along with the boundless dark clouds that blanketed the opposite bank of the river. A towering blood-robed ghost shadow, as tall as a mountain, stood out prominently, its aura overwhelming. Both factions were fixated on the pale blue nether spirit qi cloud mist hovering above the river. Under the moonlight of ages past, nether spiritual chi coalesced into an ever-expanding vortex, within which luminous azure droplets of liquid light condensed. Bai Yeqing, a figure of noble lineage and peerless talent, commanded the 6 demon race powerhouses with an air of authority. Hold your attacks for now. As long as the vortex persists, the nether soul divine essence will continue to condense. Across the river, Huo Tianming hovered with a ring-shaped spiritual artifact above his head, shouting with a grin, the nether soul divine essence belongs to the nether realm of the dead. Scram now, or you'll all become soul food for Lord Blood Mountain Marquis. The towering blood-robed ghost shadow unleashed a roar louder than thunder, its sound carrying a strange power that assaulted soul spirits. Hidden far away, Li Wei felt his mind briefly shudder and his heart pound with alarm. If that were to happen in battle, even a moment's disorientation could be fatal. No wonder Huo Tianming, despite his own formidable cultivation and combat prowess, addressed the creature as Lord Blood Mountain Marquis. This blood-robed ghost Marquis's strength rivaled, if not surpassed, that of the Imperial Pattern Bone Marquis. The nether soul divine essence was a treasure beyond price, a chance encounter that might never come again. Li Wei secretly pondered the possibility of snatching it from the jaws of the tiger, devising a strategy for action. On the continent of Yingzhou, only the combined forces of the human race, demon race, rice people, and other living factions could barely contend with the nether realm of the dead. The Sentinel Spirit Army was merely a reconnaissance force established by the human race. The Taiyan sect, on the other hand, was a force supported by the nether realm of the dead, specifically created to counter the Sentinel Spirit Army. While the Sentinel Spirit Army could contend with the Taiyan sect, pitting them alone against the nether realm of the dead was like trying to support a crushing mountain with a single twig. The vortex of nether spirit chi swirling above the heavenly capital river slowed its rotation. Within, 40 to 50 drops of nether soul divine essence had coalesced, shimmering brilliantly as they floated in the pale blue mist. Attack! Qingzhao and Bai Yeqing issued their commands almost simultaneously. The Blood Mountain Marquis strode forward, stepping over Qingzhao and Huo Tianming. He extended a cloud-like hand to seize the nether soul divine essence. Au! A dragon's roar shook the heavenly capital river's surface as a black flood dragon python hidden beneath the water surged upward, unleashing a bright beam of light from its mouth that struck the Blood Mountain Marquis's palm. At the same moment, a young man standing beside Bai Yeqing soared into the air, his body rapidly expanding into a colossal 6-colored peacock. The 6-colored peacock, possessing the bloodline of an ancient immortal giant beast, spread its twin wings, each spanning over 100 meters, and joined the battle against the Blood Mountain Marquis. Boom! Rumble! The combined spiritual chi, willpower, and immortal scriptures of the assembled powerhouses clashed, causing the water's surface to explode, the riverbed to shatter, and the vegetation on both banks to be reduced to dust. Both sides unleashed their full might, some wielding spiritual artifacts, others casting Dao techniques. On the demon race's side, Bai Yeqing remained aloof from the fray. The Ember Spirit powerhouse stood guard on the shore, protecting Bai Yeqing and preparing to provide support. Bai Yeqing extended his hand toward the nether soul divine essence, a river of spiritual chi surging from his palm. Before the river of spiritual chi could reach its target, Qingzhao's sword chi slashed it in two, the frigid sword chi rebounding toward Bai Yeqing. Boom! The Ember Spirit powerhouse swung his pillar-like spear, shattering the incoming sword chi before it could reach Bai Yeqing. Don't worry about me, Bai Yeqing said, I can defend myself. Seize the nether soul divine essence quickly before more fallen spirit marquises arrive. Their forces are too vast. The Ember Spirit powerhouse glared at Qingzhao, let out a thunderous roar, and stepped onto a path of coalescing sparks, charging toward the nether soul divine essence hovering above the river. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel, The Primordial Law. Volume 6, Battle for the True Inheritance. Chapter 52, 593, Facing Qingzhao. 52nd of Volume 6. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. Qingzhao, clad in a pale yellow robe, let out a delicate laugh. Her longsword circled and slashed, unleashing a sword technique and Taoist technique perfected to the 4th level. Boom. The sword chi stretched for miles, its majestic force nearly severing the heavenly capital river. The 2 Third Realm demon cultivators who had joined forces to resist her met a grim fate, one dead, the other wounded. The deceased was a 3rd Realm early-stage immortal realm demon bird, its body cleaved in two. Instantly reverting to its true form, the massive halves of the avian corpse plunged into the river, staining the waters crimson. The wounded cultivator, a 3rd Realm mid-stage demon cultivator, managed to survive but plummeted to the riverbed. Having broken free, Qingzhao soared upward like the morning sun at dawn, ascending toward the nether soul divine essence. The Ember Spirit powerhouse had already approached the area containing the nether soul divine essence. Sensing Qingzhao's murderous intent, it realized that taking the time to collect the essence would leave it at a disadvantage in the coming clash, potentially suffering the same fate as the fallen Third Realm demon cultivator. Thus, the Ember Spirit, standing like a peerless fire demon god amidst the clouds, swung its ancient, 30-meter-long spear downward at Qingzhao while simultaneously unleashing a scorching gale from its mouth, sending dozens of drops of nether soul divine essence hurtling toward Bai Yeqing on the riverbank. Qingzhao, flying upward from below, found herself in a completely disadvantageous position. As the spear descended, it felt like a pillar of the heavens was crashing down upon her. Gritting her teeth in silent fury, she could only summon all her spiritual chi and raise her sword to parry. On the shore, Bai Yeqing watched dozens of drops of nether soul divine essence streak toward him like meteorites. He immediately waved his sleeves, unleashing a swirling vortex of chi to gather them into his palm. Li Wei, who had almost given up, suddenly saw this perfect opportunity. Transforming into a wisp of azure mist, he shot toward Bai Yeqing like a bridge of smoke. Cousin, don't turn around. It's your cousin. Li Wei called out in Luansheng Linyu's voice. Sensing the surge of vital energy behind him, Bai Yeqing was initially terrified, ready to activate his life-saving measures. But when he heard Luansheng Linyu's voice, he breathed a sigh of relief. Yet he quickly realized something was amiss. Though Luansheng Linyu had entered the Void Ruins ancient kingdom, why had he been hiding until now, only to suddenly reveal himself at this critical moment? In that instant, Bai Yeqing's emotions shifted 3 times in rapid succession. There was no time to activate his life-saving measures. Bai Yeqing whirled around, cradling the nether soul divine essence in one hand while striking out with the other in a claw-like motion. Simultaneously, his twin pupils activated his innate Dao technique, Ice Soul Eyes, freezing the ground beneath his feet and the river surface beside him in an instant. Boom! Li Wei shattered Bai Yeqing's Ice Soul Eyes spell with a single palm strike, colliding with Bai Yeqing's claw strike. Bai Yeqing felt an overwhelming force crash down on him, his entire arm going numb. He coughed up a mouthful of blood as the surging power of Li Wei's clear radiance immortal haze spiritual chi palm strike sent him flying backward, crashing into the heavenly capital river with a thunderous splash. The dozens of drops of nether soul divine essence he had been holding scattered into the air, only to be swept into Li Wei's sleeve. Li Wei. Bai Yeqing surged out of the water, his arm trembling and unable to lift. He glared at Li Wei, who was already fleeing, and roared coldly, his eyes burning with fury. But then, a realization struck him, filling his heart with terror. He's broken through to Immortal Realm. Bai Yeqing had once discussed Li Wei with Luansheng Linyu, who had praised Li Wei's martial mystic path skills to the highest degree, claiming that if Li Wei's ancestral field hadn't been crippled, no one in the same cultivation realm could withstand 3 of his strikes after he broke through to the Immortal Realm. Whoosh! A slender, goose-yellow figure flashed overhead like a phantom, pursuing Li Wei. Splash! Activating the power of his governor's official robe, Li Wei teleported over 10 miles away, bursting out of the purple mist light cluster and sprinting wildly through the mountains. Bai Yeqing is truly remarkable, worthy of his lineage as the martial mystic Dao Heavenly Emperor. His combat prowess at the same cultivation realm likely rivals even the true disciples of the ancient sects. To gather his strength so hastily and withstand my palm strike, sustaining only severe injuries, is astonishing. Li Wei surmised that Bai Yeqing couldn't possibly be at the early stages of the first realm, otherwise, he wouldn't be so formidable. Not good. He's closing in fast. What an incredible evasion Dao technique and a Dao heart manifestation of immense power. Li Wei felt the Dao heart manifestation settle upon him, his heart tightening. This meant his opponent could launch intent attacks or strike with spiritual artifacts at any moment. The spiritual artifact might already be behind me. Whoosh! Activating the governor's official robe again, he teleported another dozen miles away. Yet he remained within the range of his opponent's Dao heart manifestation. Li Wei was about to activate the governor's official robe for a 3rd time when zing! An intent attack, manifesting as the ringing of a sword, pierced directly into his mind. For a martial mystic cultivator in the First Realm's Immortal Realm, such an intent attack would have been crippling, leaving them unconscious and collapsing to the ground. Li Wei blocked the intent attack, but at the critical moment of activating the governor's official robe, his consciousness faltered briefly. His spiritual chi surged violently within him, nearly tearing his physical body apart with spatial power. He narrowly escaped the purple mist light cluster, tumbling out into the open. Space evasion is extremely dangerous for low-realm martial mystic cultivators who haven't mastered spatial power. A single mistake, an interruption, a strike, or spatial turbulence, could tear them to shreds. Swish! Swish! A rain of countless needles, each shimmering with scriptures, descended upon Li Wei, completely enveloping him and denying him any chance to use space evasion again. It's Chen Envoy Qingzhao. Li Wei had personally witnessed Qingzhao slay a third realm demon cultivator with a single sword strike while fighting two opponents simultaneously. Her combat prowess far exceeded what Li Wei could currently withstand. Clang! Clang! He activated the Ruyi Chenkan sword, its sword shadows weaving into an impenetrable net. Myriad sword chi surged forth, deflecting every needle. Yet, under Qingzhao's control through spiritual chi and intent, the needles surged back like relentless waves. Each wave repelled only to flip and strike again. Li Wei spotted Qingzhao's figure. She was 3 miles away, rapidly closing the distance. Haha, this technique to counter space evasion is something I've painstakingly devised. It was originally meant for Tang Wanzhou, but it seems you'll be the first to experience it. Little Li, you killed Luo Pingdan and several fallen spirit marquises. The true disciple master is furious. He's raised the bounty on you to the same level as Tang Wanzhou's. As the voice faded, Qingzhao had already crossed 3 miles, closing in with a swift leap. Seeing Li Wei completely enveloped by the needle rain, she was utterly astonished. She hadn't imagined the boy's martial mystic path cultivation was so formidable. The needle rain hadn't left a single scratch on him. Many third immortal realm martial mystic cultivators couldn't achieve such a feat. According to intelligence reports, just over a year ago, when Li Wei fought Rice Palace's true disciple, he was still in the Dao Seed realm. He must now be at the first realm of the immortal realm. Wang Hen wasn't exaggerating. Even without your battle corpse puppet, you're already a top-tier expert. Qingzhao clenched her palm in a gesture of summoning. The needle rain hummingbird-like returned to her palm, coalescing into a 7th grade 1000 inscriptions artifact level longsword. Breaking free from the needle rain's encirclement, Li Wei barely had time to catch his breath before sword radiance struck like lightning, blinding him with white light. Sword chi surged from all directions. Qingzhao's Dao heart manifestation in hundreds of thousands of immortal sutra scriptures pressed down on him, locking him in place. Dao transformation. Li Wei closed his eyes, no longer looking at her sword, and instead relied on his senses to counter her attack. Simultaneously, he unleashed the 10th move of the Chan sect's 12 dispersed hands. From his ancestral field, the immortal haze radiance and immortal scriptures surged forth, coalescing into a towering divine shadow that enveloped his body. Having reached the immortal realm, Li Wei could finally manifest this dispersed hands technique as a true Dao technique. Before, it had merely been a martial move, less powerful than the Tai Yi Si opening and less practical than the clear void cicada chase step. Boom! Qingzhao's sword struck Li Wei, but the divine shadow blocked the blow. The blade pierced the shadow, but a tremendous force halted its progress, deflecting the sword's momentum and sending it veering uncontrollably to the side. Swish! Seizing the opportunity, Li Wei thrust his sword straight at Qingzhao's heart, with far greater force than usual. Qingzhao's heart skipped a beat. She swiftly flicked a finger from her left hand, striking the yellow dragon sword's blade. In the blink of an eye, their heart-stopping clash concluded. Though Qingzhao's sword aimed for Li Wei's head had been deflected, its residual sword chi still struck him, sending him flying backward. One exchange had already decided the outcome. Li Wei felt as if he had been struck in the chest with an iron rod, his 5 viscera and 6 bowels aching as if about to burst. Fortunately, he was wearing 4 layers of defensive armor, otherwise, this single strike of sword chi would have critically wounded him. Without hesitation, he summoned the myriad manifestations staff spear and the 7 phoenix-winged moth emperors, preparing to form a combined attack formation. But before he could unleash his spiritual light, a storm of sword chi condensed from Dao techniques erupted, scattering the 7 phoenix-winged moth emperors and sending them crashing to the ground. With this single strike, Qingzhao demonstrated terrifying combat prowess rivaling even those who had achieved great immortal. In the next instant, her charming, mischievous, and youthful face appeared before Li Wei. Li Wei felt that this face was even more terrifying than a corpse demon. Against an opponent of this caliber, he had no time to activate his governor's official robe or the purple heaven thunder seal. Every moment could mean life or death. Not from the moment Qingzhao appeared before him, but from the instant he sensed her presence. Bang! Li Wei mustered all his strength to block Qingzhao's second sword strike, sending him flying backward once more, blood streaming from his 5 fingers gripping the sword. Before he could even hit the ground, the sword light was already upon him. Boom! Finally, the Fusong divine tree light shadow and spiritual chi coalesced, solidifying into a wrathful Vajra. At this critical moment, Li Wei achieved psychic martial mystic fusion, unleashing the 6-fold samsara burning karma technique. The 3 jong tall wrathful Vajra, blazing with searing light, struck out with a fiery palm seal that collided with the sword's radiance. Qingzhao's sword split the wrathful Vajra apart in a thunderous explosion, but her attack was momentarily blocked, forcing her to retreat as well. Since sensing Qingzhao's pursuit, Li Wei finally had a brief moment to catch his breath. Landing heavily, he roared, "Fight!" The shattered spiritual light fragments reformed around him, solidifying into a suit of armor. Qingzhao's delicate, willow leaf eyebrows furrowed slightly. How could a mere first immortal realm martial mystic cultivator withstand 3 of her sword strikes without sustaining serious injury? Her anger twisted into a mocking smile. Is this your secret technique of psychic martial mystic fusion? Li Wei prepared to release his battle corpse puppets. Qingzhao instantly sensed his intent, her sword piercing through the air toward him. The air split in two as the sword's shadow flashed like lightning. Whoosh! Whoosh! As Li Wei retreated explosively, divine figures materialized around him, 12 in total, each striking a different combat pose. The figures scattered chaotically along his retreat path. Qingzhao narrowed her eyes, astonished by this extraordinary Dao technique she had never witnessed before. In the next instant, the 12 divine figures merged into one. Li Wei halted his retreat, his eyes burning with murderous intent. With the force of splitting the heavens and earth, he raised his sword and unleashed his most powerful strike. Tang Wanzhou, racing at full speed, her heart ablaze with urgency, gripped the divine snow sword. Each step she took spanned a mountain range, leaving snow-covered peaks in her wake. For days, she had been healing in a frozen, sealed state deep beneath the netherworld domain of the heavenly capital river, until the fierce battle above had awakened her. Just in time. Immortal slaughter of all beings. Tang Wanzhou's black robes billowed as she leapt across the mountains, descending behind Li Wei. Even midair, she slashed out her most devastating sword strike. 2 streams of sword qi, one vertical and one horizontal, converged on Qingzhao from opposite directions. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 6. Battle for the True Inheritance. Chapter 53, 594, Love Blossoms by the Riverbank. 53rd of Volume 6. Translator. Shadow Knight AK. Editor. Shadow Knight AK. Li Wei's vertically descending sword strike embodied both the unwavering resolve and domineering power of Tai Yi opens the sea, while also resonating with the profound laws of heaven and earth. Its destructive force surged exponentially. Even with Qingzhao's profound cultivation, she sensed an overwhelming killing intent in that moment. Forced to switch from offense to defense, she channeled all his spiritual qi, her feet gliding on flowing light as she sought to evade Li Wei's lethal blade. Yet an even greater killing intent erupted from behind Li Wei. The supreme sword intent of, immortal slaying all beings, struck Qingzhao's soul consciousness even before Tang Wanzhou's sword qi could reach her. Qingzhao's composure shattered. Before her, she no longer saw a single vertical and horizontal strike, but rather an inescapable web of intersecting blades. Then I won't evade. She would meet offense with offense. 10,000 miles of morning glow. Whoosh. Activating the 5th layer of her great technique, Qingzhao retreated swiftly. As she moved, her spiritual qi ignited like the dawn, engulfing the surrounding sky and earth in a radiant glow. Amidst the surging sword energy, Qingzhao's lithe and resilient body, fused with her blade, transformed into a crimson sun rising through the morning glow. Li Wei's vertical sword strike pierced through the radiant dawn. Tang Wanzhou's horizontal slash descended upon the crimson sun. Boom. Qingzhao was sent tumbling backward, a wretched figure. The color drained from her face as half her body was encased in frost, the bone-chilling cold piercing through her. Tang Wanzhou rarely used her ultimate technique, immortal slaying all beings. Once unleashed, no one at her cultivation level could withstand it. Even Wenren Tinghai, the Demon Kingdom's new top scholar who had once surpassed Qingzhao in strength, had his protective defenses shattered by this strike. Clang! Tang Wanzhou gave Qingzhao no chance to recover. Her eyes gleaming with lethal intent, she charged forward, unleashing a second, third, and subsequent sword strikes with overwhelming force, determined to crush her opponent. Li Wei gasped for breath, having been so relentlessly battered by Qingzhao that he couldn't even breathe properly. His nerves felt like they were about to snap, and his heart pounded at several times its normal rate, threatening to burst. Raising the myriad manifestation staff spear, he channeled a steady stream of 4-colored spiritual light from his brow into the weapon. Whoosh! Stellar orbit patterns in the formation plate of the sun, moon, and stars combined formation materialized around him, enveloping the 7 phoenix-winged moth emperors that were swooping down. The formation plate, now over 30 meters in diameter, transformed into a rapidly spinning millstone, hurtling toward the battlefield between Tang Wanzhou and Qingzhao. With a thunderous crash, the formation plate struck Qingzhao, whose momentum was already faltering, and attempted to drag her into the formation. Unexpectedly, Qingzhao's body cultivation technique had reached an astonishingly profound level. Even in this dangerous situation, she moved through the air like a fish, splitting into a dozen afterimages that scattered like celestial maidens scattering flowers, escaping to 100 meters above. Tang Wanzhou shot skyward, clinging to Qingzhao once more, determined not to let her escape. Li Wei retrieved the purple heaven thunder seal and suspended it above the sun, moon, and stars formation plate. He then channeled the spiritual chi from 7 phoenix-winged moth emperors, combining it with his own to activate the seal with 8 streams of power. Though the spiritual chi was less potent than that of the 4 battle corpse puppets, it still unleashed a significant portion of the myriad inscriptions artifacts' inherent power. Crackling. Several bolts of purple lightning surged skyward, coiling like serpents. The heavens and earth flickered between light and darkness. One bolt struck Qingzhao, piercing through the protective scripture woven into her robe, instantly reducing the fabric at the point of impact to ash. She let out a low, pained groan as her body plummeted toward the ground. Had Tang Wanzhou not been restraining her, Qingzhao could have easily evaded the attack and retreated beyond the Thunder Seal's range. Tang Wanzhou pursued relentlessly, seizing this opportunity to eliminate the Taiyan sect's third-ranked young prodigy. Before Qingzhao could crash to the ground, a cloud of spiritual chi erupted from the ancestral field, neutralizing her descent. She tilted her head back, watching the divine snow sword descend like a shooting star. From her cosmic pouch, she hurled 3 ancient, hemp-colored burial shrouds, stained with the blood of transcendence and bearing a formidable aura. Sizzle. 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 The 3 paper-thin shrouds ignited from within, their forms expanding as they were inflated by the bodies of 3 ghost spirits. The ghost spirits formed a protective circle around the gravely wounded Qingzhao, each unleashing a stream of dueling cold fire. The 3 pillars of fire intertwined, repelling the divine snow sword. From afar, Huo Tianming roared, "You dare to harm the Chen envoy. You're courting death." A 5th-grade thousand inscriptions artifact, a ring-shaped spiritual artifact, transformed into a heavenly wheel scripture dozens of meters in diameter. It shot forth, hurtling through the air toward Tang Wanzhou, who was rapidly closing in on Qingzhao. But the Blood Mountain Marquis moved even faster than Huo Tianming. Tang Wanzhou glanced at the mountain-sized crimson ghost shadow looming before her. With a single palm strike, she sent the heavenly wheel flying. Landing, she sheathed the divine snow sword and sprinted toward Li Wei. "Let's go." Li Wei, realizing they had lost their chance to kill Qingzhao, recalled his 7 phoenix-winged moth emperors. Together, he and Tang Wanzhou activated the governor's robe's spatial evasion ability, vanishing into thin air. Protected by her 3 ghost spirit servants, Qingzhao tried to suppress her injuries and pursue them. Suddenly, her chest heaved, and she coughed up a mouthful of blood. Half of her body was charred black by the purple heaven thunder seal, while the other half was frostbitten by the divine snow sword chi. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, she had suffered a humiliating defeat at the hands of 2 martial mystic cultivators of lower cultivation realms, leaving her both physically and mentally devastated. Huo Tianming retracted his ring-shaped spiritual artifact and approached Qingzhao, his eyes wide with disbelief. Their cultivation and combat prowess. Have they truly reached such heights? Qingzhao channeled her spiritual chi to heal her wounds, casting him a cold glance. What are you waiting for? Go after them. Huo Tianming immediately pursued the Blood Mountain Marquis, heading in the direction Li Wei and Tang Wanzhou had fled. A piercing cry, imbued with willpower-based attacks, descended upon Li Wei and Tang Wanzhou. A 6-colored peacock soared through the sky, while a flood dragon python slithered across the ground, both moving even faster than the Blood Mountain Marquis in pursuit. Each creature spat out a spiritual artifact from its mouth. The 2 artifacts traversed dozens of miles, hurtling toward the fleeing pair. Li Wei and Tang Wanzhou fought and fled, dodging left and right, covering 3,000 miles before finally shaking off their demon race and dead spirit pursuers. Changing direction again, they sprinted another 1,000 miles before plunging into a great river, submerging themselves to wash away their scent and conceal their tracks. Only when their spiritual chi was completely exhausted did they emerge from the water, supporting each other as they stumbled ashore through dense reeds, utterly drained. Exhausted and utterly disregarding their appearances, the 2 collapsed to the ground in a tangled heap. Pitch darkness surrounded them, broken only by the gentle murmur of flowing water and their ragged breaths. In that moment, they had lost all sense of direction, caring only to savor the rare tranquility and the comfort of surviving a near-death experience. It was as if they had been completely cut off from the outside world, isolated from all its conflicts and grudges. Noticing Tang Wanzhou's breathing growing shallow, Li Wei quickly sat up and patted her head. No matter how exhausted we are, we can't fall asleep. If the enemy catches up, we're done for. Tang Wanzhou lay on her back, her large eyes wide and luminous in the darkness, like pearls radiating a mystical glow from the depths of the sea. The heavens and earth are vast, and we occupy only a tiny fraction of their boundless expanse. We've exhausted every means to escape and conceal ourselves. If the enemy still manages to track us down, we might as well draw our swords and behead ourselves. We're not facing mere immortal realm martial mystic cultivators, but the martial mystic Dao Young Heavenly Emperor, a god among men. You're right. Li Wei agreed, lying back down. He could feel Tang Wanzhou's damp hair against his neck, and he longed to drift off into an eternal slumber. But reason prevailed. They had to stay awake, their eyes remaining wide open. Suddenly, Tang Wanzhou said in a light tone, "Congratulations. Your ancestral field hasn't been destroyed, and you've achieved breakthrough to Immortal Realm." This single piece of news is enough to ignite a frenzy of discussion among the young generation across southern Yingzhou, truly catapulting you to fame. It will undoubtedly thrill and excite countless people who care about you and have been worried about you. Li Wei chuckled bitterly. What's there to congratulate? Didn't you see how Qingzhou beat me so badly I couldn't tell east from west? I still have a long way to go. Tang Wanzhou twisted her slender, graceful body to lie sideways facing him, her captivating starry eyes gazing intently at Li Wei's sharply defined features. She said earnestly, "Why are you being so self-deprecating? I don't know how strong Qin Zhengyang was at his peak, but Qingzhou now is likely no weaker than him at his prime. Even with my cultivation at the peak of the second immortal realm, I'm still a step behind her. The fact that you can now withstand several of her attacks is enough to make the world's jaws drop. If you prepare thoroughly and make good use of your 7 phoenix-winged moth emperors and battle corpse puppets, you could become virtually invincible. What an astonishing feat. You've earned the sincere admiration of even a proud and arrogant young lord of the Northern Territory like me. Also, you're lying on my hair." Li Wei tilted his head slightly, his gaze meeting hers. A tremor ran through him, as if an invisible force were pulling him closer, urging him to seize that flawless jade-like face, so near, and cradle it in his hands, kissing it. He quickly banished these distracting thoughts, suppressing the impulse. In his mind, he began to replay the earlier battle, analyzing it. The key lies in thorough preparation. In a clash between top-tier experts, seizing the initiative is paramount, every instant crucial. Knowing I possess rare insects and command battle corpse puppets, how could she possibly allow me time to prepare? Unless she's hiding in the shadows, setting traps, waiting in ambush, and striking unexpectedly. Li Wei then informed Tang Wanzhou about Qingzhao's methods for disrupting spatial evasion, warning her to be cautious. The tenderness that had softened Tang Wanzhou's eyes gradually sharpened as she refocused on the pitch-black sky. At the peak of the second immortal realm, I might still be able to defeat her despite the cultivation gap. The reason I'm currently a step behind is because I broke through to the immortal realm too quickly, relying too heavily on treasures like Dragon Soul Source Light. This has left my foundation less solid than hers, and my mastery of Dao techniques far inferior. But all of this can be remedied. Through the recent life and death battles, I've clearly felt my spiritual chi and immortal scripture becoming more refined, and my strength has improved again. My immortal slaughtering divine snow 14 swords can only reach their full potential by constantly fighting powerful opponents and honing them between life and death. Only then can I grasp the wondrous sword Dao laws that truly resonate with them, making them even more formidable. Li Wei nodded in deep agreement. The reason he had been completely suppressed by Qingzhou from the moment he sensed her presence, unable to even catch his breath, lay in Qingzhao's far superior mastery of spiritual qi, scripture, spiritual artifacts, and willpower. Her body cultivation techniques and Dao techniques were also astonishingly refined, her speed so overwhelming that Li Wei struggled to parry her attacks. A long silence hung in the air. Tang Wanzhou suddenly asked, "So many days have passed. Why are you still lingering in the heavenly capital River Nether domain? Don't you know it's an extremely dangerous place?" Li Wei didn't answer directly, instead asking, "And you? Why are you also in the heavenly capital River Nether domain? I predicted you would hide there after escaping. But when I blew the sentinel's whistle, no one came to meet me, so I had to bury myself in the mud to heal my injuries," Tang Wanzhou said tersely. The two understood each other's light-hearted intentions. In the Void Ruins ancient kingdom, it would be nearly impossible to find a third person who could share such deep trust. "Look, there are stars in the sky," Tang Wanzhou suddenly said. Li Wei gazed intently and indeed spotted one star, then two, then three. Faint, but undeniably real. His heart trembled. Does this mean the darkness within the Void Ruins ancient kingdom is receding? Just like how reeds are growing along this riverbank, life is returning to places beyond the Nether domain. That's none of our concern. Tang Wanzhou took a deep breath and abruptly flipped over, her long, smooth jade legs moving gracefully as she knelt astride Li Wei's waist. Leaning down, she cradled his face in her hands and pressed her crimson lips against his, kissing him fiercely, no longer suppressing her emotions, but letting them pour forth unrestrained. Li Wei had never expected such a sudden and overwhelming attack. Her kiss was clumsy, clearly an imitation, a desperate attempt by someone who didn't understand but insisted on forcing the issue. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 6. Battle for the True Inheritance. Chapter 54, 595 Parting Again. 54th of Volume 6. Translator. Shadow Knight AK. Editor. Shadow Knight AK. Almost suffocated by her kiss, Li Wei finally managed to grip her slender waist and jade-like back, flipping her onto the ground and pinning her beneath him. He gently cradled the back of her head, lowering it to the ground with one hand, while his other hand pressed against her damp, fragrant shoulder. He gazed down at her. Beneath him, her eyes held a sharp intensity, yet concealed a hint of anticipation and shyness. You're already on top. What are you hesitating for? If you can't handle it, just get off. Tang Wanzhou murmured. Li Wei lowered his face, his hands gliding over her taut, supple, and curvaceous body. They gradually found their rhythm, their earlier wild frenzy softening into tender, gentle movements. As their passion deepened, Li Wei noticed something was wrong. She was crying, tears streaming from her eyes. Their lips parted, and Li Wei withdrew completely, his hands stilling. He had never imagined Tang Wanzhou, in her normal state, could be so vulnerable. Li Wei, I feel so awful. Why does it hurt so much? I thought letting my emotions run wild, without suppressing them, would make me feel better, but it seems that's not the cure. Tang Wanzhou's robes were disheveled, revealing the thin inner garment beneath. Her full chest rose and fell with each sob, as if she had been violated by Li Wei. Though her eyes still held their sharp intensity, even a blind man could see she was forcing herself to remain composed. Li Wei asked, is it because of this crushing defeat? I've faced defeat before in the Lingxiao realm, she replied, I've seen my soldiers fall one by one, endured moments of even greater despair. But I've never felt this profound sense of failure and anguish. Li Wei countered, this is different. In the Lingxiao life realm, you were the young lord, wielding the authority to command armies and strategize battles. The Northern Territory's martial mystic cultivators trusted and respected you. But ultimately, the lion camel tamer king bore the true responsibility for everyone's lives. You knew deep down that you had a solid foundation to fall back on. But the Shaoyang division was your creation, every member handpicked by you. They answered only to your commands. Your mindset was naturally different. You bore the weight of each person's life and death. No matter how dire the situation, you understood that you could only rely on yourself, there was no safety net behind you. Defeat meant the end. But Tang Wanzhou, is this really all your fault? Have we truly been defeated? If Mo Duanfeng and Bai Chuan hadn't been so arrogant, we would still be hiding in the shadows, slowly cultivating our strength. Our original plan was to defeat Chu Yutian within 20 years, wasn't it? It was those two who forced us to confront an enemy many times stronger than ourselves prematurely. In terms of losses, the Tai Yin sect and the Nether Realm of the Dead suffered far greater casualties than we did. And as far as I know, Nangong, Lu Yi, and Qing Zijin all managed to escape. Given our overwhelming initial advantage, the fact that the battle ended like this means Chu Yutian should be the one feeling miserable and defeated. Tang Wanzhou fell silent, lying there with her long hair spread out, pouting as she stared at Li Wei. Are you just trying to trick me? My mind is in such turmoil right now, I can't think straight. Li Wei replied, in my opinion, your current mental state is precisely the kind of internal trial that every genius disciple in the immortal realm must undergo. In the 5 Seas realm and Dao Seed realm, we were the young generation, just beginning to show our potential, free from all constraints. Whatever we did, it couldn't cause too much damage, and the older generation was always there to protect us. In the immortal realm, everything changes. We must learn to rely on ourselves, to do everything independently, face every danger, and bear all the consequences. Only by enduring this inner refinement can we, upon reaching the transcendent realm, stand alone at the pinnacle of power. Then, others will rely on us, seeking our shelter and protection. If there's a bridge between genius and true strength, a process of transformation, it must be the immortal realm. We're experiencing it right now. Tang Wanzhou's eyes regained their brilliance, her despondency completely gone. Well said, but not good enough. In my opinion, we should set our sights even higher. The immortal realm is merely a process of inner refinement. The transcendent realm, however, is about forging our own path through thorns and brambles, revealing our full potential, and engaging in a grand struggle against heaven and earth, another stage of pioneering and tempering. Only the Crown Prince and the martial mystic Dao Heavenly Emperor can truly be considered the strongest on the Yingzhou continent. Should we continue? Li Wei smiled wryly, sensing her complete lack of interest. Let's stop here. You've already stirred my blood to a boil, my heart surging with a desire to shatter the heavens. I can barely suppress my injuries. Let's not make things worse for both of us. Both of them were now perfectly rational, the impulsive emotions having subsided. Tang Wanzhou rearranged her disheveled black robes, supporting her weary body as she retied her long hair, revealing her slender, sensual neck marked with faint, rosy white imprints. Suddenly, she said, it's all your fault, leaving me in this awkward position. If your fiancé were anyone else, I could simply pretend nothing happened and walk away. But it's the Zhuoqiu clan. If you marry Zhuoqiu Hongting in the future, I'll be consumed by resentment and will definitely cause a scene. You'd better be prepared for that. Li Wei had already stood up. How could I continue after seeing you cry? Don't mention this again. Just forget it, Tang Wanzhou snapped, clearly furious and feeling utterly humiliated. She knew she could never face Li Wei with dignity again. This time, there was no Six Thoughts Heart's spiritual curse to blame. Several days later, Li Huayi and Tang Wanzhou had fully recovered from their injuries. Emerging from the underground chamber, they were once again at their peak condition. During this time, Li Huayi told her about Qing Zijin's situation, as Nangong had informed him. Tang Wanzhou also shared information about Shu Daoqing and the Great Void Clan. On the mountain ridge, the moonlight of void ruins cascaded down, illuminating her ice-sculpted, jade-like face. Her profile was sharp and distinct, her ponytail swayed gently, and her long lashes framed her delicate nose and crystalline red lips, drawing one closer. She retained her aloof, peerless, and heroic aura. Yet Li Huayi could no longer see her as simply a comrade on the martial mystic path, as he had once done. He had glimpsed her softer, more vulnerable side, as gentle as water, her breath as fragrant as orchids. Tang Wanzhou stood with her hands clasped behind her back, gazing at the layered mountains to the south. She said proudly, the Netherworld domain of the heavenly capital river is actually an excellent place for cultivation. It's vast, the third largest among all nether domains, making it easy to hide. Secondly, after so many days, the Tai Yin sect and the fallen spirit marquises must believe all the Shaoyang guards have fled far away, likely into the heart of the ancient kingdom. Thirdly, the Netherworld domain of the heavenly capital river lies at the southern edge of the Void Ruins ancient kingdom, a straight line distance of 70 to 80,000 li from Yerzan Chun City, far from the center of the fighting. Now that you've just broken through to the immortal realm and obtained the Nether Soul Divine Essence, your cultivation can advance rapidly in a short time. Seclusion is the best choice. Li Huayi asked, what about you? Tang Wanzhou replied, under the Fusong Divine Tree, a year or two of seclusion, or several years of cultivation in the nether domain, would naturally break the third immortal shackle. But I have a faster option, advancing through combat. In the martial mystic path, only those who survive countless battles while maintaining their essence, qi, and spirit can shatter the barriers to the highest realms. Otherwise, they'll inevitably stagnate at a certain cultivation realm, their extraordinary talent squandered on mediocre achievements. Essence, qi, and spirit are difficult to acquire but easily lost. I cherish them above all else. Moreover, as the holy commander of the Shaoyang division, I must swiftly eliminate Jingjun and inform every Shaoyang guard about his and Shu Daoqing's situation. The longer we delay, the greater the danger. The Great Void Clan is too strange. Until Jingjun is eliminated, we must remain vigilant toward everyone around us. Once all this is done, I'll come find you in the Netherworld domain of the heavenly capital river. Li Huayi retrieved 2 immobilization talismans and 2 divine swiftness talismans, handing them to her. Be careful. Taking your 4 talismans. I'll repay you with 4 medicinal herbs later. I'm leaving. Tang Wanzhou tucked the talismans into her sleeve and descended the mountain without looking back. Under the moonlight, her slender, jet-black figure and its shadow stretched across the boundless wilderness, growing smaller and smaller until they vanished into the wind. Li Huayi knew Tang Wanzhou was right. With abundant resources at his disposal, he could rapidly advance his cultivation through secluded practice. Thus, he returned alone to the Netherworld domain of the heavenly capital river. The Netherworld domain of the heavenly capital river fell silent once more. Yet he knew that within this 800-mile expanse of tranquil forest, hidden deep in some ravine or dense thicket, there must lurk living or dead spirits secretly cultivating the Tao. Danger lay concealed, and no one dared reveal their vital energy. Li Huayi blew the spirit whistle again, but Qing Zijin still didn't appear. Now, his only hope was that Tang Wanzhou would find her in another nether domain. Li Huayi set up a concealment formation and carved a simple cave dwelling into the mountainside. He resolved to spend the coming days refining the Dragon Soul Origin Light, aiming to quickly elevate his cultivation to the peak of the first realm. He had previously attempted to weave a cocoon of time within the nether domain, but his efforts had ended in failure. The same held true within the Blood Mud space. Ultimately, the Blood Mud space was nothing more than the Buddha's relic, which remained within the nether domain, enveloped by nether spirit qi. In the Tanggu Sea, far from the Fusong Divine Tree, including the summit of the Soul Sea Stone Peak, Li Huayi could weave a cocoon of time. After testing it, he spent 7 days inside, and when he emerged, 10 days had passed in the nether domain. He eventually realized that the natural order of time in the universe would never allow 2 distinct time anomalies to coexist within the same space. Alternatively, it might have been due to his insufficient cultivation level. To surpass the nether domain's tenfold time acceleration, he would need to seek out the legendary treasures of the Void Ruins ancient kingdom, said to be connected to the Great Chun tree. The nether spirit measured a year as 500 years. The Great Chun, on the other hand, measured a year as 8,000 years, and a full cycle of its existence as 32,000 years. Legend claimed that these treasures could accelerate time 16-fold compared to the nether domain, and a staggering 160-fold compared to the outside world. These were the treasures that true disciples coveted most when entering the Void Ruins ancient kingdom, hoping to retrieve them. However, they were rare and unpredictable, appearing only during specific week cycles. With his current cultivation level, Li Wei was no match for Qingzhao. He had no choice but to set aside distractions and focus wholeheartedly on secluded cultivation. Within the netherworld domain of the heavenly capital river, 2 years passed swiftly. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel.